with every sip and laugh. Coffee's the fuel, martini's the craft. Conversations swirling in the cool night air.
Oh, I'm going to hit that applause button. Alan, where are you? Good morning.
Evening.
How about I just keep that applause music running the whole time? That would be awesome.
I like that.
How's your martini tasting this afternoon?
Right, well, very well. It's been a big day here. I did a lot, and we're packing tomorrow to head for LA on Saturday. So
Fantastic. Well, you're joining us live from ConCon. This is day 2 down the beautiful Gold Coast. We've had a big day. There's 50 consultants in the room, and Alan, I think I've referenced you a couple of times. In the opening, I actually shared a clip that we did back in 2020, where you said a consultants convention is a place where people go every year to lie about how well they're doing. Do you think that's still the case?
Yes, that is my line. Yes.
You've got like 20 consultants in the room right now. Yesterday, I spoke about what consulting looks like today. What advice would you offer for consultants in 2026?
Stop calling yourself a consultant. Stop calling yourself anything that doesn't lead to a creation, to something new for a client or a prospect. We tend to put ourselves, the reason I made that original line you quoted is that when you say you're a speaker or you're a consultant or you're a writer or you're a coach or whatever the hell it is, you're a commodity and you put yourself amongst herds of people. So what you have to say is, well, what do you do? Well, I create lifestyles for people beyond their own aspirations. And once I say that, somebody says, well, how the hell do you do that? And I say, tell me some of your aspirations. You don't have to mention a title, and so see, credentials aren't the string of initials after your name. And I've got 19 if I wanted to use them, but I don't. Credentials are how fascinating you can be to another person, whether you can be an object of interest. Ghosting, you said, but would you say, bar nothing here, nothing's off the table.
Nothing is off topics. I want you to go full Alan. I want 11 out of 10, Alan Weiss, all New York, Alan.
Well, ghosting is crap because when somebody says, well, 5 different clients ghosted me, well, guess who's the commonality, right? People ghost you because you have not interested them sufficiently for them to want to call you back. Yes. And even though it's rude, some just don't want to bother taking the time to say, sorry, no. And so you've got to be so interesting to people and so provocative and so different that they say, I can't wait to talk to this person again. So, we have to be unique and not in the herd.
Yeah, I did a session yesterday on wildcard proposals, and I shared I had a call with a prospect the other week. And obviously when I jump on a call with a prospect, I'm like, oh, I hope this is going to go well and everything else. And the second we jumped on, she's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm on a call with you. And I was like, all right, that's the Alan Weiss, object of interest coming through. How do we become an object of interest?
Well, you have to be aware of your surroundings. You have to be aware of what's going on, what social proof constitutes, and so forth. So, for example, in my world here, I have to read the Wall Street Journal every day because that's where I get a lot of great ideas and I understand what's going on, and it's probably the best written newspaper in the world. And when I'm going someplace where I can't get it, I'm going to be in Slovenia next year. When I come home, I read the back issues. No big deal. And I'm careful about to whom I listen, but when I trust somebody or some source, I listen carefully. So you have to be well read. You have to be able to command the language. You have to be able to use metaphors and analogies and colorful verbiage so that people get a kick out of just listening to you. And then you have to say things and bring things together that other people aren't bringing together. So, for example, you've heard me say this, in the civilized West, in the developed West, including Australia, including China, there's a decline in population that will not be reversed for at least 2 generations. You don't just turn this around. And so you might say, well, yeah, we're losing people, and so AI will have to come in. It's not that simple. What we need are artisans. We need people who can do individualized work. In some of the more advanced schools in the US, high schools, they're teaching people welding because at 18, you can get out of school and have a $70,000 job. This fiction that everyone has to go to college is falling apart. And in fact, colleges or universities are hitting a perfect storm. They're going to be changed radically in the next 5 years. So anyway, you've got to be able to talk to people about almost anything. And you've got to be able to intrigue them so that they say, I can't wait to talk to that person again.
Yeah, love that. And hey, look, if you're joining us live, let us know where you're joining us in chat. We've got about 25 consultants in the room that are joining us. So if you would like to ask Alan a question, you're welcome to hop up, take the mic from me, or hand me a post-it note and ask a question. I've got to shout out Jo. She asked a question beforehand and she said, Alan, what question do you hate to answer?
What haven't I asked you that I should have? It's an intellectually lazy question, right? In other words, I should do your work, you know? So I never ask. I just say I won't answer that question. That takes care of that.
I love that you can just say things like that with a full stop. You don't have to sort of over-justify. Let's talk about over-justifying. And then I want to go back to your comment around the aging population. But let's talk about, when someone asks you to do something, we have this propensity to say, I can't do that. Here are the reasons why. You have a different approach to declining.
Yeah, well, if you give people reasons why, they circumvent them. I can't do it. I'm busy that week. How about the next week? I can't do it. I'm not familiar with your industry. Oh, we can give you material about it. I can't do it because I have another commitment. Oh, okay. Well, we'll give you a different date. All you say is, I'm sorry, I can't do it. Why? Because I choose not to.
I love it. A lot of people here, you had a few giggles then as well. Let's talk about this, the perfect storm of, let's talk about universities. And it's funny because I spoke with a CEO of an electrical contracting company and he said, Leanne, electricians will be worth $500,000 like in the next few years. Anything related to energy is going to boom. And you spoke about trades and welding and things like that. If you were advising a university, what would you say to them? What advice would you give them?
Well, first of all, you have to get the faculty off an ideological bent. People aren't going to schools to be brainwashed, right? So you have to run ideologically a neutral class. The second thing is you have to accommodate remote as well as personal on-site. Remote works very well in higher education, not so good in secondary, but very well in higher education. Third, you have to bring tuitions down. You can't put people into hock, with these obscene tuitions, at least in the United States. Fourthly, it's not about brick and mortars anymore. So stop investing in buildings. That's not the point. And then finally, I would say to you that you have to have more flexibility than 4 years and you get a degree, like getting your ticket stamped. I went through university for 4 years for my undergraduate, and I graduated with a lot of people who are no smarter than when they went in, but they had their ticket stamped, right? I will tell you my favorite story. I'm in freshman history, right? Back then you had to study history, which was helpful. And we're studying European history, and I have a German professor with a Swiss professor with a German accent. So 2 weeks into the course, the kid next to me says, I got to drop this course out and I won't be seeing you again. I said, why? He says, it's too complex. I said, what is too complex? It's freshman history. He said, there were 4 French kings at once. How the hell do you get through this? I said, what 4 French kings? He said, well, there was Louis XIV, Louis XIV, the Sun King, and Le Roi Soleil. I said to him, you better drop the course.
Yeah.
So if you don't have that kind of intellectual grasp, what do you do? But I think universities have to be fine educating people for a year, 2 years, and then sending them out. You don't have to get a 4-year degree. And they become repositories to hide. People are spending 5-6 years to get a bachelor's degree.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I told my kids, you get 4 years. After that, you go hungry.
It is true, that sort of drop after university and college where you're like this in-between liminal space. And then you obviously have massive student debt as well. We've got...
What did you major in? What did you major in?
I did business management and arts, majoring in psychology.
Okay. And how daily useful is that on a scale of 1 to 10?
The most useful thing are probably the drinking games that I learned at university that I use as icebreakers now. And
you took sort of relevant courses.
Yeah. I mean, there's a few things that, the group psychology, I thought that was my favorite, like 3rd year group psych was really great, but it was really about the social side of things and just having excuse. Because I didn't know what I wanted to do after high school. And that was a nice 4 years to sort of, I still don't know what I'm up to these days. So this is why I love talking to you, Alan.
You still don't know what you want to do.
No, I'm learning every day. I just wanted to call out, is it M. Christoph that's joining us from Miami? He shares that he is a long time fan. Great to have you. You've helped me a lot over many years. You should toast yourself, like grab some martini, Alan. That's a lovely comment to get.
Yeah, I knew his partner, Sears.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Sears Roebuck.
Oh, you do? Wonderful. Okay.
The joke, Leanne.
Oh, I didn't get it. Maybe I need the martini. Yesterday we had Andrew Hollow that joined us virtually and was talking about the true client fans that he's created over 20 plus years. What are your tips, Alan, for maintaining relationships with our true fans, our economic buyers?
Well, I think that, people say that they want to catch up with people. Let's catch up. Tell me what you're doing. Well, it's all a facade. It's all transparent that you're trying to sell something else. What you have to do is you have to call with value, and you have to say, hey, Leanne, I was thinking of you. We haven't spoken for nearly a year, and I was thinking of you because I saw this the other day, and I wanted to share it with you because I know you could use this. You don't ask for a thing. But what I established then is some gratitude, maybe a feeling of obligation. So you should never go beyond a quarter, 3 months, without talking to past clients, past buyers. And when I say talking, it could be an email, it could be Zoom, it could be a podcast, but you have to provide some value. One thing I'm telling people is that best practices are over, because nobody wants to be best and be on a plateau, which will erode. What you have to seek is constantly better and better practices. And if you look at the great organizations in the world and the outstanding entrepreneurs, they're constantly looking for better and better ways. So stop talking best practices.
Yeah, nice. And with the value that you share, you're not sharing like an article that you wrote yourself. You're sharing something that someone else wrote. Like, let's get into some detail here. It could be anything.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm always recommending Marty Seligman's book on self-talk, learned optimism, because there's an esteem crisis in the world. People don't trust their own judgment. I mean, this is the subject of my book coming out in October. And consequently, the way you talk to yourself informs your behavior, and your behavior informs other people of who you are.
Yeah, I mean, we've had many conversations around self-talk and self-efficacy. So yeah, I recommend, actually, we did study Seligman at university, which was great. So that's the second thing that I remember, Alan. Daniel has got a question. Will a recording be available? Daniel, yes, same link that you're watching this on. You can also watch the replay on YouTube as well. So just to call out, if you've got any questions for Alan, no topic is off limits. Hey, Alan, we spoke yesterday about a comment that I shared was that value is value. And we kind of, I know you're all about value, obviously. But we did a deep dive into sometimes like what value is and what innovation is. And sometimes you can create value. You talk about the different types of innovation. There's evergreen innovation, things like leadership, things that people constantly want. And then you can create a new market. So you did that with value-based pricing. How do we create market demand?
Well, first of all, there are three kinds of innovation: opportunism, conformist innovation, and non-conformist innovation. When you start talking like that to prospects, buyers, they say, what do you mean by that? Right? Because they're not quite sure what that means. So one way you create demand is by creating instances and examples and things that people are not used to hearing about and want them to be specified. So I would say, well, how much conformist innovation are you trying to do? So what do you mean conform? What do you mean? Innovation's new, isn't it? No, Uber's not new. Uber's conformist innovation. It's a taxi company. And so now you change people's thinking, right? So I want to tell you, you want to create demand, don't solve problems. There's a counterintuitive statement. Do not solve problems. Reframe them. Do not provide solutions. Provide interpretations. So if you say, well, there's an event, there's a declining population, or AI is here, or whatever it is, you have to interpret what that means for people. And when you start to interpret it in terms of their business, in terms of their outlook, in terms of what's important to them, you get their attention. And so you create demand in a couple of ways. One is by pointing out that you have new ideas, and it could be conformist innovation, and not everything is Amazon, right?
Yeah.
But secondly, you have to do it in a very clever and articulate way. So for example, your new book is very clever and articulate. You have interesting visuals in there and so forth. You have a brilliant foreword in the book and so forth.
Alan's written the foreword, by the way. That's why you said that.
I would have said that anyway. And so people, here's an example. I'm with a group the other day. And by the way, I've done 4 live groups in the last month, and every person in every group said, you can't give this up. We have to continue to get together. There's no substitute, like you're doing there, okay? But what I said to one group, they were talking about emotions and everything else. And I was talking about the importance of language, and they talk about logic. I said, language controls logic. And there's dead silence. They're trying to figure out exactly what I mean. And then they ask me for examples, and of course I have them. So there's 3 words: language, control, logic. And suddenly people are looking at this transaction in a different way.
How do you do that? Like, how do you do that in the moment when you're talking to someone? And it is so counterintuitive, because I think the immediate response when someone asks us a question is we want to solve it, right? We want to go to what you said, the status quo, which is I want to solve this problem for them. But instead, you don't do that. You deliberately reframe. How do we
Well,
do that in a
there are
moment?
two things. There are two things. First is you have to empty your mind, which sounds again crazy, but people are too concerned with what you talked about. What's my script? Where do I want to go? What should I say? What if he says this? What if she does that? So you have to empty your mind and stay really in the moment and listen. That brings me to the second point. And the second point is you might want to write this down, everybody there. It's complicated. You have to be fearless. You have to be absolutely fearless. No ego, no fear, no stress. You simply have to go for it. So you've seen me do this 1,000 times. I'll say, there are 3 reasons. Really, what are they? Well, you have to understand what simpatico means in terms of dealing with your customers. And then you have to understand that customers have a desire to return things. And you can turn that to a positive. And then you have to understand that it's not at all about cost. It's only about perceived value. What do you think? Now, I just said 3 very interesting things. And that other person is having trouble starting to process them. And they'll say, wait a minute, start at the beginning and see, I can name you another 3 things. It doesn't matter. I'll say, well, have you tried the FUR approach? The FUR approach, yes. Further, intensive, and repetitive. They say, well, where did you get that from? I said, all my clients use that. And so you just make things up. It's improv.
Okay.
You know this. When I market a program, I focus on how to market it. The content will come when I walk in the room.
Well, really? I mean, actually, I did hear that story. Yeah, like I said, Andrew Hollow was here yesterday, and I remember him telling me once he was on the lift down to one of your workshops, and he saw you in the lift, and you were writing something down. He's like, "Oh, what are you writing?" And do you remember what you said?
I said, "I'm preparing."
Yeah, you're writing the workshop material for like what you're just about to deliver.
Yeah. Listen, in Las Vegas, I walked into a room of 40 people who each paid $5,000. And I had some notes on yellow paper. And the joke about me is the higher I stay in the hotel, the better the program, because I have a longer time in the elevator to write my notes. But I walked into this room, what's that, $200,000 in revenue. And I said, these notes are wrong. They're just wrong. This is not going to work. I ripped them up and I improvised. Now, you have to have a lot of guts to do that.
Yeah.
But here's the definition of confidence. Confidence is the belief you can meet other people's expectations even though you haven't before.
I love that.
That's why I always said to clients, they said, can you do this? I'd say, of course. I was confident I could do it.
That's the flip side, like the self-belief and self-trust that you can do it, even though, it hasn't been done before. That's such a banger line, Alan. I love it. Hopefully someone's taking note here, although I could get the transcripts. Sophie says, hello from Gamu, Cairns. Among the huge range of marketing avenues, blogs, guest articles, socials, face-to-face podcasts, I'm exhausted reading this book, SEO. What do you find, Alan, is the most effective for thought-provoking consultants and coaches?
Get to know and hang out with really interesting, creative people. Malcolm Gladwell, I'm thinking of the wrong guy. Marshall Goldsmith and I wrote a book together. And I asked him, how he got to know Peter Drucker so well, because he was a pal of Peter Drucker. And he said, I carried his briefcase. And in fact, that was true. Marshall escorted Peter Drucker places, and Peter would introduce him to the CEO of Ford or a new concept or whatever else. And when we wrote the book together, I was actually the writer, but we'd ideate together and he'd review what I wrote. And when we got together on Zoom or in person, I should have recorded all of those conversations because they were just out there. And if you hang out with interesting, creative people, it will help you be an interesting, creative person. If you hang out with people who are sloths, you will become a sloth. And this crap about don't be the brightest people in the room. Don't buy the most expensive house, in the neighborhood. That's crap. You can be the most intelligent person in the room, but if there are other intelligent people there, you'll still learn. Yes. And every time I do a workshop, every time I coach somebody, I learn more than anybody else.
Oh, I love that. And look, I'm looking around the room today. There's no sloths, just sloth-free zone. Everyone here is super intelligent, creative, fun, and awesome. So it's a blessing actually to be in this room myself.
I don't hear any questions from them.
Where are the questions? Like, come on up. If you've got a question, you're more than welcome to jump on. It's easy. You're just talking to this mic. So I encourage you, be fearless, jump in. A few comments here. Elaine shares the improv approach is such a great insight. So just like making it up on the go. Improv beats AI polished scripts.
And these are great comments, because I'll tell you the principle of improv is that you never deny what you're given. You always use it.
Yes.
The other person says it's raining in the car. You don't say it's not raining. You say, good thing I have an umbrella.
Yeah, I think that's a really good approach for facilitation in groups as well, is to take it to yes and. I know we had Kate Crawshaw in yesterday doing some work with improv with the group as well. I think it's a question here. So yeah, the question on how best to handle the following, Alan. 1, a new client reaches out interested. They've been word of mouth, they've heard of you. 2, discussions start positively, even to the point of putting an NDA in place. 3, then a couple of months later, they vanish. No calls, no email responses. It's happened several times, so not likely there's something bad happened to the person. It's odd and kind of respectable. What do you do?
Well, first of all, are you talking to a buyer? That's the key question. And if you're not talking to a buyer, you're not sure, that's why you're in this predicament. So the preventive action is that you have to make sure this person has the budget to invest. And you have to say things if you're not sure, or God forbid you're talking to an HR person. Listen, ethically, I have to talk to the person with the fiduciary responsibility of making this investment. And once you start to talk about ethically and fiduciary, HR people go running for the dictionary. So you need to make sure that it's a buyer. The second thing is, in terms of Mr. Roebuck's question here, is that all this, if it's not a buyer, they were just fishing. If it were a buyer, then during that process, he did not fascinate them enough. The NDA is probably required in such discussions. And there just wasn't enough difference. There wasn't enough uniqueness to prompt this. And I'll tell you something else that everybody can use. You always have to get time, date, and action. And so you never leave a conversation, live or remote, without saying, all right, Leanne, so we agree that this makes sense for you? Yes? Okay, let's talk Thursday at 10 if you're available. And what we'll be deciding is what option you'd like to use to go forward. It has to be like that. That way, when you're calling, if you get an assistant, you can say, hey, I'm calling as promised, but you never feel like you're intruding because you have a date to call.
Yeah. I remember Nicole Wilson, actually, who I met through your growth cycle, she called it a TLA, a TDA, three-letter acronym for time, date, and action. That makes it easy to remember as well. I was having sundowner drinks with a group last night, and Jason Mallowan said he's never been in a room where there's so many people who command, like that. What we do is commanding attention for significant value. I thought that was a really great line about, I guess the common denominator here is we're all in a battle for attention. You alluded to this earlier by saying we need to become an object of interest. We've got a few people in this room that have been doing this for 20 plus years. We have some newbies as well. Where would they start in terms of gaining and garnering attention for their ideas?
If you're new to the profession, you have a great advantage because you're not tainted by a lot of stuff that's gone on before. So it's important to whom you listen. There's too much crap out there. There's too much nonsense on social media. There are too many people who are talking big games, but they really haven't done anything. And so you got to be careful about who you talk to. And you have to make intelligent investments. You're going to need a coach. You're going to need somebody in the profession you're going to need the ski instructor who goes up the slope with you and skis 6 yards ahead of you and shows you how to bend your knees and use the upward edge of the ski. You don't need the ski instructor who sits in the chateau drinking brandy and says, go up the mountain tomorrow. And so, you have to get a legitimate source. And if you invest in yourself and you spend some money that way, there's no better investment, no better return than investing in yourself.
I agree. It's the biggest thing, the best thing you can invest in outside of Bitcoin 2012. But Alan, when you said the HR line, there were a few gasps in the room, a few giggles about that. Can you talk more about HR? Because I think for some people, HR is the economic buyer. We do have some HR experts in the room as well. So I don't know how Alan, you want to go on this response, but yeah, just wanted to give you that.
Listen, I'll tell you something. I've been doing this for 40 years. I have met 3 HR directors who were terrific. 3. And they were terrific because they introduced me to line buyers who had budget and a need, and they matched this up, and everybody was credible, and they kept doing it and doing it. 3 of them in 40 years. The trouble with HR is it does not work for employees. It works for the organization. HR is something of a fiction. And I believe, just like financial accountability, human resource issues belong in the line. They belong out with line managers, with people who have ROI responsibility. That's where you deal with people issues. You don't come out with corporate mandates. And let's face it, any project that comes out of HR is immediately suspect in every organization. Sorry.
I feel like it's like a hashtag sorry, not sorry there. We've got a question from Elaine. G'day, Elaine. I know Elaine is back in Brisbane. She has this question, Any thoughts on converting political interests to her point of view? Her example is drinking recycled water.
Who are you trying to convert, Elaine? I mean, are you trying to convert clients? Don't do that, because that's a very personal issue. And you know, no holds barred here. I mean, climate change is an existential issue. It's not yet a real issue. I know there are elements of this and elements of that, but climate reality right now is overtaking climate existentialism. For example, this is very important for Australia. The latest news out just this morning in the Times is that cooling currents in the oceans are preserving reefs. That coral reefs are they're reinvigorating themselves because the warm waters that were hurting them have been replaced by cooler waters. So you never know what's going on. But sex, religion, and politics, in terms of clients, you stay the hell away from.
Yeah. I've got a question for you around, so we've been talking about a lot of different things today about maintaining relationships, about the economic buyer, innovation, being fearless. What is something that is off topic that you think would be worth just sort of rounding out today's conversation with? Like, what is on your mind?
What's off topic and on my mind? I'll stay away from self-esteem and things like this. I'm gonna pick the following. The New York Knicks are a basketball team, professional basketball team, and they just won the championship for the first time, I think, in about 25 years. And New York is a sports town, so it's unusual because their football teams have won, their hockey teams have won, whatever, but not their basketball team. So they finally won, and today they have their ticker tape parade down the Canyon of Champions in Manhattan. 10,000 police, larger than many nations' armies. 10,000 police were guarding this. So I want to tell you the following: the world is getting stranger and stranger, and the disruption and volatility are the name of the game. These aren't temporary phenomena. And so you have a ticker tape parade because people want to have it and celebrate the Knicks. And I'm sure it will go okay. It probably already did. But we had to spend a fortune, millions and millions of dollars, and get all these police out to make sure people were safe. And you have to understand that's the world we live in. And that's not going to change. And so you have to understand with your clients that the old things just don't work. There is no such thing as normal or new normal or return to normal. I trademark the term no normal. So get used to it and revel in it. You know, one of my approaches to sentient strategy, which I wrote a book about, is that you create volatility and you create disruption.
Yeah, I love that.
Don't be afraid.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. It's so good. All right. It is an off limits show, and then I will talk. We'll wrap it up, Alan. Sophie Anderson, love it. Thank you for this question, this off limit question. What are the main differences between men and women in business?
Sophie, I think I'm in love. That's a great question. I'm going to tell you what the difference is because I am an expert. Men see business issues as a rifle shot, and women see them in a web effect. Women are naturally better at being consultants. They take in more, they have more empathy. And so if you and I are in a room, I might say, I think we got it. He seemed bent on doing this. And you will say, yeah, but did you see the pictures? Some pictures had his family, but some pictures didn't have some of the members of the family, something like that. And years ago, I was on the stage with Helen Fisher, a brilliant professor who wrote, I think, The Second Sex. And she pointed out to me that men and women have very different characteristics this way. Some are physiological. Women have more rods and cones in their eyes than men, for example. But a lot of them are emotional and empathic. And I would say to you that the problem women have is not being great consultants. The problem is they don't ask for enough. The problem is they're afraid. Years ago, USA Today ran a survey to show that women were underpaid and didn't get promotions and so forth as much as men. And what they found was startling. It wasn't sexism. When a man didn't get the promotion he wanted, he'd say, I deserve that, not him. Why didn't I get it? What can you do? Where a woman would say, okay, I understand, she's good too, maybe next time. And the same thing about raises. It was the degree to which they argued. So there are a lot of women, sorry to take so long, Leanne, there are a lot of women life coaches, and they're good, and they're starving because they're not asking for enough. And so, fearless, charge for your value, and you'll be in great shape.
I love that. Thank you for that question, Sophie. That was brilliant.
Great question.
Really great question. Now, Alan, I know like you're in the US, but I know that your second favorite country is Australia. So please tell me you're supporting Australia when we play the US tomorrow in the World Cup match?
Well, I've been there 9 times. You know, my father fought for Australia, parachuted into New Guinea. So this is not light. And I've been going there since the 70s. And I used to run Australia as part of my domain in the Far East for a company, for a consulting firm. So I hope the Australians do really, really well. And if somebody's going to beat the US, it might as well be the Australians. That's fine. And at least they're playing a sport that, well, I'm not crazy about soccer. I understand it. And they're not doing something stupid like cricket.
Oh, I don't know if you can hear all the laughs here, but look, I'm a big cricket fan as well. Alan, it's so great talking with you again in front of a live studio audience. And thanks for those of you that joined online. And if you're watching the recording, let us know what you reflected and thought of the chat in the comments. Cheers to you, Alan. Yeah, have a lovely evening.
Great to see you. Hey, everyone. Be well.
Cheers.